A River of Words, written by Jen Bryant, illustrated by Melissa Sweet. When I was younger, it was plain to me I must make something of myself. William Carlos Williams. Like the other boys in Rutherford, New Jersey, Willie Williams loved to play baseball and to race his friends up and down the street. But when the other boys went inside, Willie stayed outside, climbing over the fence in his backyard. He wandered alone through the woods and fields. In those days, just beyond town, there were still many wild places for Willie to explore. My Willie has sharp eyes. He notices everything, his mother told the neighbors, and it was true. As he walked through the high grasses and along the soft dirt paths, Willie watched everything. When he grew tired, he stretched beside the Passac River. Gurgle, gurgle, swish, swish, swoosh, gurgle, gurgle. The water went slipping and sliding over the smooth rocks, then poured in a torrent over the falls, then quieted again below. The river's music both excited and soothed Willie. Sometimes, as he listened to the perfect tune, he'd fall asleep. As Willie grew older, there was less time to wander through the woods and fields or to nap by the river. In high school, Willie had classes and track practice and lots of homework. Willie is always in a hurry, his mother told the neighbors, and it was true. But when Mr. Abbott read poetry to Willie's English class, Willie did not feel hurried. The gentle sounds and shifting rhythms of the poems were like the music of the river. As the teacher read each line, Willie closed his eyes and let them make pictures in his mind. One night, alone in his room, Willie began to write his own poems. At first, he imitated the famous English writers he had learned about in school. He counted the beats in each line and made the endings rhyme. The archer is awake, the swan is flying, gold against blue, an arrow is lying. Poetry suited Willie. Every night he looked forward to sitting at his desk and writing a few new lines. But after a while, he grew frustrated. He had pictures in his mind that didn't fit exactly into steady rhythms or rhymes. I've never seen a swan or an archer, Willie thought. I want to write about ordinary things. Plums, wheelbarrows, and weeds, fire engines, children, and trees. Things I see when I walk down my street or look out my window. I will write of leaves and the moon and the treetops. So Willie tried writing a new way. Instead of counting the beats or making the N-words rhyme, he let each poem find his words, special shape on the page. There is a bird in the poplars. It is the sun. The leaves are little yellow fish swimming in the river. The leaves are little yellow fish swimming in the rivers. There's a bird in the poplars. It is the sun. Now, when he wrote poems, he felt as free as the river as it rushed into the falls. Willie's notebook filled up, one after another. "My boy is a good writer," his mother said, and it was true. Unfortunately, no one paid much money for poetry, and Willie needed to earn a living. The little sparrows hop ingeniously about the pavement with sharp voices over things that interest them. Willie's mother had told him stories about his older brother, Carlos, who was a doctor. "When our father died," she told Willie, "Carlos's salary saved our whole family." Willie liked the idea of healing people and providing for a family, but could he do both and still write poetry? Dreams are not a bad thing. I am moved to write poetry. So much depends upon labor. At the age of 19, Willie went off to study medicine at the university, where he met Ezra Pound, Hilda Doolittle, and Charles Demuth. Ezra and HD were studying literature, while Charlie studied painting. The friends spent many afternoons together discussing books, music, and art. The harder Willie's medical training became, the more he enjoyed the time he spent with them. Among the rain and the lights, I saw the figure gold and a red fire truck moving. Tense, unheeded, to gong clang sirens, howls, and wheels rumbling throughout the dark city. When he graduated, he returned to Rutherford and hung his sign, William C. Williams, MD, Family Medicine. Every day, Dr. Willie Williams filled his black bag with medicine and instruments and drove off to visit patients in their homes. Every afternoon, he returned to his office where more patients waited. They call me and I go. The doors open, I smile, enter. All day he delivers babies, healed hurts and bruises, set broken bones, and wrote prescriptions for coughs and fevers. "Dr. Williams is the busiest man in town," said the neighbors, and it was true. But no matter how many babies he delivered, no matter how many sick people he cured, Willie could not stop writing poems. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. On his prescription pads, he scribbled a few lines whenever and wherever he could. In those precious times, the rhythm of the river he had rested beside as a child seemed to guide him, like the water that sometimes ran slow, smooth, and steady, and the other times came rushing in like a hurried flood. Willie's lines flowed across the page. After his long doctor's day, Willie climbed to the attic where he kept a lamp and a desk filled with letters from his artist friends and notes he had made about things he had heard, seen, or done. As the rest of Rutherford put out its lights, Willie took out his pen and his notes. He sat down and looked at the words. "This is just to say," in which we were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me. They were so sweet and they were so delicious, so sweet and so cold. I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox. And shaped them into poems. The moon, the dried weeds, 7 feet tall, the dark dried wheat stalks, make up a part of the night, a red lace on the blue milky sky. Right by a small lamp, the petals are the most nameless, and the moon is tilted and half gone.